Final day. Um, in day one, we review how to do the stand and time imaging. Day two, we spend a lot of time on taking high resolution stand and atomic resolution stand on different sample, and we take a look at the governance and beam current, spot size effect on spatial resolution of the stand imaging. So now we're on day three. So we're gonna review. First, we're gonna review stand alignment for EDS acquisition. So we're gonna fine tune alignment astigmatism for EDS acquisition. We're gonna take a look at the beam effect beam current effect on EDX signal, understand resolution, and sample damage. So, and then we're gonna review how to use Velox to do EDX acquisition. And we're gonna review how to do map acquisition and how to picture the line profile for maps and how to optimize their EDX acquisition. And finally, we're gonna do some visualization of quantification of the EDS data. So, but at the end of the day, we hope you understand how to set up microscope for optimized EDX analysis. Also, be able to do EDS fast mapping, night scan, be able to use Velox for data processing. So first, a little bit concepts of EDX. I guess you already know that because you're expert of the X-ray. Once the electron in texture sample, because some of the electron in the different end in the lower energy level gonna be kicked out. So different energy level from is gonna jump in, fill that electron hole, and in this way, X-ray gonna generate. So different elements, they have different emit X-ray. So it's like we can treat this emit X-ray as kind of a fingerprint for different X-ray. So by cracking them, we can do chemical analysis to identify different kind of composition. So here's some more details. So depending on type of electron interaction in the axon, different X-ray energy can be produced from the same element. That means, for example, here we have hole in the K. So then the K, the atom, the electron as L level gonna jump in, then they're gonna create L energy X-ray, and if they're jump to the L, if their electron at the M level jump to the K, they're gonna create different K peak, K energy. So that means so for different element, the most common use their X-ray peak is K alpha and beta. So we can just we mainly use this K peak to identify the elements. So if you look at the element, look at spectrum, you can see the level of energy for different element is specific. So that's the reason we can. That's how we identify different elements. So we collect the spectrum. We use different peak to identify different elements. So, but one element might be different type of energy peak. So you will find that some, for example, if you do kind of iron, you will find iron K peak and L peak, and titanium L peak, titanium K peak. So different elements have different energy level, energy peak. So let's see how the EDX detector work. So we have two kind of X-ray detector. So silicon lesion detector. This is older type. So the most recent type is silicon drift detector. So we got surpass on the Talos F200X is silicon drift detector. It has 4 silicon drift detector symmetrically arranged above the center. So in your case, you have two. I think you have 2 large area silicon drift detector. So above the sample, placed above the sample. So the silicon drift detector has a lot of advantages. It have a high count rate. It also have a better energy resolution compared to other type. It have low data time, fast analytic capability, more precise X-ray mapping, and ability to store operate at very high temperature. So here's how silicon drift detector works. So once it actually goes in, it's gonna generate different drift field. The drift field gonna direct the X-ray to different field emission transistor. So, but take a look how much electron we collect at different FET, we call the field emission transistor. We can identify different energy of the X-ray. So that's how it works. So next we're gonna take a look how we evaluate the EDS performance. So this many 3 main key facts. The first is total count. So this is a very important parameter to evaluate whether your EDS detector is good or not. So usually, if you have a large area of SSD, definitely you get a more count, and also the count of the X-ray can be increased by, if you increase your acquisition time, definitely you get a more count. If you increase your solid angle detector, you get a more count. You see for thick sample, you get a more count. So yeah, this is the first parameter, total count, how many counts you get. And also the second parameter is background to noise ratio. So if you get too much noise, get your background too high, that means your data is not that good. So, and the last parameter is peak to background ratio. This is a peak to background ratio. It's same thing. It's same thing. Just like this is it's calculated the ratio between the peak to the background. So usually we get surpass. It have very good background peak to background ratio. Usually the background to peak background ratio is stay with same with different currents. As you can tell, we change the current, pin current for different detector. I think you guys set the dual detector. So this is kind of a comparison between surpass and the dual detector. If you change the current, the peak to background ratio usually stay same, but the surpass has a much better peak to background ratio, meaning they have higher energy resolution. The last parameter is system errors. System error usually is so the first thing is whether you get a spurious X-ray. For example, electrons scattered by splitting at edge of the condensator, and some spurious X-ray caused by the pole-piece or what kind of holder you have. If you use the copper, usually we get a system arrow, like copper arrow from the holder, iron arrow from the pole-piece. So in order to reduce this kind of noise X-ray, it's essential to use the proper because usually we used to have a low background, especially with holder. And here's a comparison between different kind of detector, EDX detector, to say to test their to say how the sense change with different iron to gold ratio. So so from SUPAS, you can see SUPAS together better results compared to dual access. So meaning it's get a less system noise to the EDX detector, SUPAS detector. So finally, I can give you like step-by-step guide on how to approach the EDX data. So normally first we need the setup parameter for detector. For you guys, you have for retractable detector. So you have to insert the detector first. Also, you need to set up a parameter for stand application. Usually, you need to set up the select suitable guidelines and also the spot size to get a good, at least good beam current to which is enough to generate which is gonna generate enough signal to the EX detector. So so we here's the EDX setting. So we're probably gonna usually set up the exposure time and the stop condition. So also we're gonna go through one by one with you, and also energy range. Also the sharpening time, whether you want to optimize. We always use optimized. Whether you're gonna use the high throughput. High throughput gonna reduce detected by that time, which is favorable for high count rate experiments. And also you want to do high resolution. You should give you bad energy resolution. Give you bad peak to background ratio. So in this case, a relatively low count is required. So usually we do optimized. So optimized is kind of combined between these two, high throughput and high resolution. So because for SUPAS we have 4 different segments. We can choose which detector, which segment we wanted to use. We can use just one, or we can use 4 of them. By default, we use 4 of them. We want as much as signal as possible. For DUX, definitely we can also select whether we want to use 1 or use 2. So after that, when you set up the SI, which is mapping, spectrum imaging presets. So we can go drop down here and choose the develop time. And when you choose develop time, it's gonna give you frame time here. And then you can set up how many frames you wanted to acquire. If you select auto stop, it's gonna stop at the for this situation, it's gonna stop at the 10 frame. You can set up like auto stop at when it's collecting. It collects 100 frame to 2,000 frame. It's your choice. And also you can select whether you wanna do drift compensation. If you select drift compensation, it's gonna correct the drift between each frame by cross section correction, and it's gonna cost more time because after each frame it's gonna do the drift correction, and but it's worth it. You should, especially when you do high resolution atomic resolution EDX mapping. Also, you can choose whether you want to optimize for periodic image. That's gonna do some math to help you get atomic EDX mapping. So develop time, yeah, I already talked about that. Yeah, so if you choose longer develop time, the scanning time is much longer for each brain. So if you have drift issue, it's better to choose a little bit shorter develop time. So yeah, I already talked about that. So now we can specify the spectral image area. We can increase the magnification and find a good region. If we once we select the region, we can we can set up the drift correction area. So by usually if you increase the magnification, the pixel size decrease, so high resolution is achievable. But if you decrease the image scan size, the pixel stays same, so resolution is not affected. So this is I'm gonna share all of this information. I'm gonna share this PDF with you, so you can read it by yourself later. But here's finally we can set up, once we set up application, we can start acquiring, and we can set up, this is how you can set up acquiring on the whole region, or also you can switch it, you can select the location you want to, or area you want to do spectrum imaging. So after that, you can also switch the drift area to do drift correction. So usually, we don't set up the drift match area same as the spectrum mapping area. Especially when you have a beam sensitive sample, because you don't want to get extra exposure, beam exposure to your region of interest. So you can set up the drift correction just beside the spectrum image area. I will show you later. And finally, I think once we set up the drift correction area, we can start acquire spectrum. We can set up with auto stop at the specific frame, how many frames you want to, after collection data, how many frames you want to stop your application. And also you can stop the imaging by yourself. So you'll see later. EDS acquisition. So we have different setting for different stem setting for EDS acquisition. We have high beam current one, large beam current. So which means you have more signal, but more beam damage to your sample. So for low max EDS mapping, we usually choose the high beam current setting. So it depends on your EDX detector. For super EDX detector, we usually choose the current around few hundred again. In that case, you get good resolution, image resolution, and also you can get a good signal to a super EDX detector to generate but beware, at this beam current, if you scan very long time, you're gonna cause some damage to your sample, especially when you go higher magnification. So second setting is for high resolution EDS mapping. So typical current is from 100 picom to 200 picom for super X. This is an example for on the Johnson titanium. So we choose 200 for 200 kV, correction angle 10.5, which is program 150 pm, and correction time we can do even a little bit lower, correction than 5 minutes. You can get a good good mapping. This is picture delivery time 20 microseconds. So this actually shows you the top frames 3 frames show you the raw data, and after load it switches that intensity, and after load data we can do some averaging to average the pixel. You do average 3 pixel, 3 by 3 pixel. You can get a little big pixel, but you get the more. You average the count to 1 pixel. Average count in 3 pixel to 1 pixel. So then your image you lose some pixel in imaging, but your EDS mapping looks more visible. Makes the atom looks more visible to see, and you have better contrast in your mapping. And the best filter for atomic reduced EDS mapping is the linear filter. So we can do linear filter. Basically, it's kind of filter based on your FFT. So I'm gonna show you later. It's gonna do some correction, make you the atom looks round in EDS mapping. So next we're gonna mainly talk about the EDS visualization and quantification. The first thing important to talk is the filtering. So for the EDS data, especially for the EDS raw data, sometimes it looks very signal looks very weak. The contrast is not as good, especially when you do a fast EDS mapping. You don't capture. You get a good signal, but you don't have enough signal to make the contrast looks very good. So in this way, the filtering can jump in to help you make your data looks better. So we call this processing is visualization processing. So we basically have two kind of filter within the Velox. So we have pre-filtering, which can enhance the input data before the quantification. The post-filtering is enhanced element map that are result of the quantification. So the pre-filtering not going to change your spectrum, how your spectrum look like. The post-filtering not going to change how your spectrum look like, but the pre-filtering gonna change your peak intensity, and that's gonna affect your quantification results. So there are three kinds of filter available: average filter, Gaussian gray, Burr filter, linear filter. So this one only for the post filtering, and this one is it does not redistribute the counts. It's just process the FFT of an image to remove noise. So the average filter and the Gaussian filter, blurring filter, they redistribute the counts from single pixel to array of surrounding pixel. So this is an example. So tell you the difference between the average filter and the Gaussian filter. So as you can tell, this is we have 1 pixel right in the center. The average filter gonna if you do average 5 pixel, it's gonna redistribute this recorded carbon counts to surround 5 pixel. So basically, it's averaging and it's gonna redistribute. So you get, in this case, in addition 5 pixel, you get a very uniform count. And then for the Gaussian Borel filter, it's gonna redistribute the count based on the distance from your central pixel. So the center pixel is gonna have most counts, When it's away from sensor pixel, it's gonna get less count. So this is how the two kind of filter working works. So this is a post filtering. So it's going to only improve the image quality, but when we do pre-filtering, it's going to improve the quantification results. This example is schematic to tell you the difference when we do pre-filtering. So as you can tell, this is a spectrum. If you have a spectrum record, and the different energies peak at the different peak at different energy, the distribute at the different pixel, and what the spectra, what the average filter does is going to average this all of the energy peak at different pixel and distribute them to this 3x3 pixel with average their intensity of the peak. So yeah, this is how it works. And this is the average filter. For the Gaussian filter, it's gonna distribute most of the peak, the intensity of the peak within the centerpiece, center pixel, and your adjacent pixel get less than this distribution of the count. So this is the example. So if you do pre-filtering, the total count for the elemental map is same, but each pixel so spectrum that's much better with elemental some topology of the spaceman. And not-speak also distribute, therefore easy to suppress during spectrum filtering. So so this is the filtering, how filtering help make the atom visible. So if you do filtering, we can this is the average filter, Gaussian filter. So we're gonna try that later to see the difference. So so this is a very important side, the kernel side. So for both pre-filtering and post-filtering, so when you decide the size of the like for the average pixel, how many pixels you want to do averaging. So to able to determine this kernel size, there's several methods to do so. First, we can by inspecting the integrate spectrum plot. And so first, we clear all the filtering stuff in the spectrum imaging, and only select the area only 1 by 1 pixel. This is only 1 by 1 pixel. The count, the spectrum count is going to be very low, as so here. And then you can increase this 1 by 1 pixel to enlarge this 1 by 1 pixel to 3 by 3 or 5 by 5 or 7 by 7, and then take a look count. So we have all the different kinds. We have the function to automatically identify the peak if the count is enough. So when the peak is can be automatically identified, that means we got a good count for at least the enough count for the quantification. So then you look at your average size. So if for example, if you don't get enough counts for quantification for identifying peak at a 3 by 3, you might get enough count 7x7 area to let you automatically identify the peak. If 7x7 is the case, and then you can so then you can choose the the pre-filtering and separate the average, and you select the kernel size average pixel to 7x7. So you select the kernel size 7 because and you still select the area in there because now you have pre-filtering and you select the area with size 1x1 pixel, but you have average pre-filtering in, which has a kernel size 7x7. So in this case, if you see you get enough count and for automatically identify the peak, that means you are the good kernel size going to be 7. Right? If you don't get enough counts, then you probably need to increase this kernel size again to maybe to be number 9. So anyway, this is a way to determine how much filtering you need to do. Definitely, more large kernel size means you have more filtering. So we don't want to overkill. So this is a way to tell you how big the kernel size you need to have. Okay, that's another way. If you care about this is from the spectrum. If you care about the atomic quantification, like you wanna say how much atomic fraction of the element within your map, we can determine the kernel size by using different atomic fraction. So which is very similar. So first we create clear order, pre-filtering, post-filtering, and we just select the 1x1 pixel and add the regular rectangular spectrum image even 1x1 pixel. And now we can within the experiment log, we can see the atom fraction. So we can combine the quantification results with different area size. So this is 1x1 pixel area, 3x3 pixel, 5x5, 7x7. When you see, so definitely because 1x1, you see you have a higher titanium fraction, which is right because you don't have enough accounts for quantification. So this result is not correct. So when you go 3x3, it's getting close to the right value, but still not right. When you go 5x5, 7x7, 9x9, 11x11, if you see it's stay similar. So that means you get the quantification results become stable. Then you can from T situation you say maybe 7x7 is good value to choose because it's going to give you accurate quantification result. So then this is the area size, right? So then we can choose the select pre-filtering and select the average 7 pixel to 1x1 pixel, and then we still select the area size 1x1 pixel. Now we have average filtering. So understand we can check your atom fraction to see if it's produced the similar results. So yeah, this is how we decide the pre-filtering. So this is how we do visualization. Next, we're going to talk about the level quantification. So we have for quantification function within Velox software. Is the quantification method is based on the Cliff-Lorry method with option to use absorption fraction. So this is a common step for we use the K factor for quantification. First, we need to do peak fitting. We need to match intensity structure peaks. We need the accurate match of the background. We need to calculate intensity ratio between different elements and then convert the value into chemical concentration. This is a equation you can find online anywhere. So it's just a common equation for how we do the K factor quantification. First step, check the peak position. So a typical you should check the position. This line, the individual line here, indicate the position peak of different element and in circle. But this if they match with the actual peak, this means we identify peak very well. But so the first thing we need to check whether they match. Also, we need to do kind of a pre-check to see whether quantification parameter is being used. So the easy way to check is to go to your software, this folder, quantification parameter, and you will see this three Excel file. You need to copy and this three file out from inactive folder to paste to this quantification parameter folder, as kind of so here. So also you need to check the total count for any accurate quantification. So at least we need to have, this is a figure to tell you, at least we need to have over 200 counts to give you a good quantification result. Also, when we quantify a single spectrum with option children, which we can, this is how we quantify single spectrum. So first we need to use the spectrum integration tool to generate a spectrum from region of interest. Based on you can select different region to generate the spectrum. After you have a spectrum, you can use the periodic table to do peak identification. You can usually they always some system peak like copper. You should also be include them, but you should select the deconvolution only for the system peak. And also check the background bottom, then check the then check on the spectrum to show the background. Add just the background window if necessary. So we have different background correction method. So the typical method we use is a multi-polar moment, and so polynomial. So you can try different method, but usually to see which one give you better background fit. So I can show you this stuff one by one later. Also, you can input the sample thickness and density. If you use the absorption correction, this will correct the quantification result based on absorption. It's really for a lot of them. However, if you have to know the thickness of your sample, which is not always applicable. So yeah, once you're done with that, you can just click the view in the menu, check experiment log to show the results. So this is how we do quantification on a single spectrum. So there's some loads. So especially we use the quantification based on K-effect. This model is faster but more noise sensitive for SI, which fits linear function inside the background window. And this model is always recommend HKC fits the whole spectrum with the base model. The fitting parameter are determined by data in the background window as well. So remember, always use the K9 if it's readable for quantification. So and also there's a few cross correction model. So this model is by default is an experimental model. This one had a better actually for transition model. So yeah, you can try different model, but usually we use the Brown power model as the default. Finally, we can quantify the spectrum imaging. It's similar stuff. The step is similar. You have to quantify the spectrum first. Once you have to quantify the spectrum, and then you can just this option. You just click approach SI spectrum imaging. The same setting will apply to your SI quantification. So this we can do different kind of we can do atom fraction quantification. Also, you can do weight percentage quantification. So it's always recommended to check pre-filtering to improve your quantification results. If you just use the post-filtering, it's gonna make your elemental mapping look nicer, but it's not gonna affect your quantification results. So also we have intensity line profile. You can use intensity line profile to extract kind of a line profile around at a certain location. So it can then you can it's kind of a similar function as because usually we do super fast mapping. It's super fast. Usually we can get a mapping within 5 minutes. So in this case, we don't need to do line scan anymore. We can just have a fast mapping to see different element mapping. And then later on we can just use line profile to extract the line scan results from the mapping. So here's some definition. I think dwell time is important. So each pixel, the real time is total clock time used to correct the X-ray. The lifetime is time the system actually processing incoming X-ray. So the dead time, which is real time minus lifetime. So it's if you have a large percentage of the dead time, means your either your sample is to it's not generally enough. Either your sample is blocked, the detector blocked by the sample, or the signal to the detector is blocked by the sample, or you get so much system noise. Especially when you do heating experiments, when temperature gets high and you get a lot of inferior noise to your detector. In this case, at that time, gonna be super high. Inferior radiation. When you go high temperature, you're gonna have inferior radiation field detector. Okay, I think that's all from my presentation. And any question?
No.
Okay, if no question, we're gonna go for live demonstration. I'm gonna do step-by-step guide to show you how to acquire EDS mapping. Okay, let's stop sharing this one and start sharing my screen here. And switch this one. Okay. So right now we're on Jocelyn titanium sample. So this size sample is good for atomic EDS mapping. So we can do the atomic EDS mapping first, and then we can switch to the silicon sample to do low magnification EDS mapping. So I'm gonna show you like 3 settings. The first setting is for atomic EDS mapping, which we have very small current. In this case, we choose the highest spot size. We choose spot size 8, which gonna give you decent amount of current. Let me unbring the beam. You see the current is around 100 figure N. And next, I'm gonna show you how to do like so your median setting of the EDX mapping with median currents around 200 or 300. That's good for the sample, which is a little bit beam sensitive, but not that beam sensitive, and to do the low magnification EDS mapping. And then finally, we're gonna show you the EDS setting with a lot of beam currents, like almost like we can do over 600. Okay, to say definitely that's gonna give you a lot of EDS signal, give a good contracts, EDS contracts. Okay, so if you want to do atomic EDS mapping, you have first the thing you need to do is to align your stem based on the alignment. Like I already showed you how to align stem for atomic imaging yesterday. So we need to fine tune the condenser skimmer. Then based on the rankigram, we need to do fine focusing based on the rankigram, and also if we need to go out of direction to check your probe size, and do some direct element based on your probe size and shape. And then finally, you can move your sample. You can do slow scan and do focusing, make the atom visible. And based on the imaging, you can also do fine focusing and fine tuning of your condenser astigmatism. So that's once you've done that, you should be able to get a good atomic resolution imaging. Here, because I choose the spot size 8, and then I open the beam, and make sure you tilt the sample to the doneness, especially for EDS mapping, atomic EDS mapping. You have to tilt your sample to perfectly on zone, because EDX mapping it's based on, if we say atoms in EDS mapping, that's basically is kind of a channel effect. So channel effect when you're because the gap between atoms, they have less signal to their detector, and the atom itself, atom coating itself is gonna deflect more signal, it reflect more electron, reflect more X-ray, gonna be cracked by the detector. So in that case, it's gonna follow some. It's gonna like some channeling effect. So if you perfectly on zone, you can see large gap between atoms, largest gap between atoms. If you're not perfectly on zone, your gap again becomes small, and the signal collect. Um, you're gonna the atom be, it's gonna go. You're gonna see some overlapping of the different kind of element atoms in your EDS method. So yeah, it has to be perfectly on zone. So okay, we align the stamp for HRTM. We move sample to the perfect on zone. We can check the current. It's around 100 picosecond. That's enough. And then we can start accurate imaging. Goes here. Okay, we need to do some focusing, and we did this first. Okay, we do some fine focusing. And also we do some fine condensed big tuning, copy 1 to 2, and better. Probably go to slow scan.
What's the gun lens?
Gun lens 3, gun lens 3. I use gun lens 3, I think. Yeah, gun lens 3. So you can choose gun lens 2 as well. That's gonna give you a little bit more current. Okay. Let's move a little bit. Maybe we need to move to the. So go to the magnification at least. I think at least 5 million. So, and then you can stop view. You can apply imaging. You can apply 512 by 512 imaging, and then you can set up the spectrum region. And also you can set up a diff region. If you ever have a little bit of overlap, it's fine. And then this is a tool to set up a spectrum imaging area. This is for like different correction area. Once we've done that, we can set up a range, exposure time, range, any range for strength tightening. Just choose the two here. Trending KV is good. Saving time, I can do optimized. Just always do optimized. Exposure time, this is good. That means it's inputting exposure time only including the real time. And for the move here for the dwell time, I'm gonna do 20 microseconds, which is fine. And if it scan too slow, it's gonna have so much shifting between each frame. And definitely I need the selective computation. And I want to optimize for periodic imaging because this is for atomic EDS method. Once we're done with that, we can just we probably we need to refresh image again. Take another image, make sure there's no crazy drifting, and then we can probably do a little bit of focusing. Probably we can get a little better focusing. Okay, take another image. You can move around, make sure you get a good region, and then you can just stop the position. So once the detected insert, it's going to cause some vibration on the first frame. So it's better to just stop and refresh. Okay. So then stop. Okay, and then your processing here. This is processing window. Delete this one. This your processing window. You select the elements, which is strontium, titanium, and you can do that. Select processing, and you can select the things on. It's gonna keep acquiring signal, and then also gonna do live for processing. So you can select element, which element you want to include, and so sometimes, and when you select different element, it's give you option to select. Also, if you go to intensity, it give you option to select which energy peak you want to include. Usually we choose the K peak to know how to choose different peak. Probably it's good to check the spectrum. You can use the spectrum tool. This is different. This is like you can do shape. Choose different shape like here. Double click. You can choose spectrum with this region. So different extraction tool. So this is a square shape. This is irregular shape. So and then you can enlarge the area and look at the count. So look at the count here and look at different peak. So we have titanium K peak. You can do and if you use your if you hold the left mouse, then if you move left and right, you can enlarge your spectrum. Enlarge your spectrum of your X, of your energy range. And if you click the Y, you can hold the left mouse. You can adjust the range of the Y. This is a count. So if you want to go back, you can just say right click and say auto skew is going to go back. So if you select the shift, if you hold the shift in your keyboard and then drop left and right with your left mouse, it's going to just move your spectrum. If you don't hold the shift, if you use your left mouse to move on left and right, it's going to adjust range of your energy. So go here. You can also use your central mouse, central round of your mouse to scroll in to adjust range of your energy. Yeah, point of view. Okay, from titanium we got a K alpha peak, K beta peak. What else we got? We got the. It's hard to say we have titanium L peak. Oh, we got a little bit of L peak here maybe. So we have titanium K alpha, K beta. In that case, we can include these two peaks into the quantification. And for the strengthening, we got L alpha, L beta may overlap with R alpha. We're gonna L. Again, another L peak here. Yeah, we're gonna review this peak. So we can choose. So we can use L peak of strengthening, K peak of the titanium for the quantification. So you can choose strengthening K peak. Do we have a K peak for the strengthening? We can check that. We don't have strengthening K peak. Oh, we have a K peak here, so we can use that. Definitely, we can include the L peak, L alpha, beta, lambda for the quantification. So on the titanium, we got the minus K alpha peak for the titanium. This for the titanium L peak, it's overlap with oxygen peak. So if you select that, it's gonna give you too much noise. You see the change. If you select the arrow peak, you see your background become you get more noise. So once you're done with that, you can remove the background. Intensity just the count. Intensity here means just show the raw data. If you do NAS, it's gonna subtract the background for you. So I think probably good intensity and this one. Too much. You can go back, always go back intensity. And selective peak to say better. Actually, because our L beta is overlapped with our alpha, probably is not a good set on that beta. I'm just setting on alpha. Then the quantification. Okay. So the sample is moving a little bit, I think. During the acquisition, you can adjust your focus a little bit. Because during the scan, it's my autofocus. You can adjust your focus. Goes different way. To bring the back, if you go autofocus during the scan, so you can also adjust a little bit of focus to bring the back. So right now, you can check how many frames we have. We have 130 frames almost. So we're starting to see the titanium atom. You can see here. Adjust the contrast, gamma, the imaging. Let me go back. Okay. Raw data looks better. Probably select to say. Yeah. Let's copy a little bit more signal. So I think right now we'll scan, how much time we scan? We scan about 9 minutes. So you can let's keep scanning to collect more signal, which looks your make your map looks better. But for now, we just stop because I think it's good enough for us to show the different atoms. You can see titanium atom and strontium atom from the mapping, right? So there can clearly identify different atoms. I think that should be enough. So we can just stop once we feel okay with that. We can just click stop. Also, you can set auto stop. So before you acquire a mapping, you can set auto stop. Say how many frames you want to do. After how many frames you want to stop the application. Also, you can break the mean after application. If you check that after application, it's gonna break mean for you. So we don't want to break the mean right now. We just stop application. You see here, this is a cross correlation. So basically, it's got the reference imaging, and then it's got a matched live imaging. It's going to compare the two to cross correlation drift correction. So if it's not going to move the stage, but it's going to shift the image to drift correction, to the image shift. Okay, we got the data. Let's take a look. Yeah, rest down on this region. You say your sample is still good. You don't get too much damage on your sample, which is good. That means we can keep scanning, and get more signal to make your map look nicer. But if you find that you get some damage on this spectrum area, you might need to reduce your beam currents. Right now, because we don't get too much damage, we can increase currents to give one more try, right? So what I'm gonna do, let's stop the video first.
Why did you have two windows? You have one for a spectrum image and one for diffraction? Drift correction?
Yes.
That's the cross correlation?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
This is spectrum. You can make the overlap, but if you do drift correction on your spectrum region, your spectrum region gonna get a more beam damage, right? Because you're do scanning on spectrum region as well.
And then how big the squares are, does that matter, or you just made them different?
It doesn't matter. You can make it small. If you make it very small, it's not
correct as much.
It's not going to give you very accurate drift correction. Okay. I would say big area you select, more accurate it's going to be.
Okay, so that's why you have it bigger than the spectrum image.
Yes. Okay. Yes. For spectrum image, because I mean just you can make it larger, but when we include more atom, it's going to take more time scanning the sample. So, because right now I'm just doing the high resolution imaging. I just want to, because they are parallel arranged, so I just want to select a few representative area, a small representative area to do the spectrum imaging. Okay, let's take a look at the map first. So this is our map, and we can do some quantification differently. So, because right now we can set up different filter. So right now we use the linear filter. We can also select for the linear filter. We can select different. We can select highest frequency. When you select highest frequency, it's gonna. That means the only the signal with this frequency gonna go through your filter. You can also select the edge smoothing, but now I only select the 0.1%, which is very small. We can do 100%. You can see it did more smoothing on the edge of your atom, so it makes it looks better. You can select this. If you go 100%, that means no filtering. No filtering. Although we check the post filtering, but most of the signal gonna go through the linear filter. If you choose the highest frequency is 50%, that means the filter only filter the higher frequency the filter gonna filter is 50. This the strength. You can understand like this is the strength of filter. 100% no filtering, 0% is junk filtering. Everything gonna filter out. 50% it's half of the signal gonna be filtered. So we can just say you can depend on how your map look like. Okay. 40, maybe 40, maybe 35. We set a different field changing to see regions here. Okay. This filtering, we can also try average filter. You can select different size to say which one looks better. And also you can use the master adjuster we just discussed in the during the presentation. You can select on by area, auto scale. You can select area, yeah. You can just pop this. You can take a look at the size. So when you select this, then scroll down. I can add this. I'm gonna go 1 pixel, 1 pixel. So this is 1 pixel. Move around. Because right now we're has filtering. So spectrum. This method is for quantification. If you wanna use for quantification, if you wanna, because right now we're set. I know we still have no pre-filtering, so it's not gonna filter the spectrum. So we can use the pre-filtering. If you use the pre-filtering, we need to use that. Right now, this raw data without filtering, you probably need to adjust contrast again. We select pre-filtering. This is deselect pre-filtering, and if you say this is 1 pixel, you see you get a level count. It's not gonna tell you. It's not gonna let you identify your peak. You can just increase this area to, let's say, to and now let's do 7 or 5, and do 5 by 5 pixel, and then you see IP. It's not quantified. It's not identified the peak, so probably we're gonna do 7 by 7. Then you have quantification in your oxygen. Maybe have a something happening. yeah, it still give you enough security for quantification. So then we go further. We can choose 9 by 9. Can give you enough signal. I think 7 by 7 is good enough. So we can do pre-filtering 7. We can shrink this area to 1 by 1. And if you take a look at the spectrum scale, it's scattered in. Right now it's 1 by 1 pixel. We would select, but you still, because we have pre-filtering, so it's gonna give you, we have pre-filtering average 7 pixel, so it's give you enough counts with 150, almost to it's good. You're gonna have enough, almost have enough counts for the quantification for every pixel. If you want to increase, you can increase a little more to 9 pixel. You can see the difference. You can go to 11 pixel, right? I think 7 is good enough. It's the average filter. You can combine the average filter with the post filtering as well. You can the post filtering again. It just do some filtering on your imaging. It's not going to quantify you. It's not going to affect the spectrum. So if you deselect this, it's not going to affect the spectrum here, count on spectrum. So deselect post filtering here, and do this one. This is the when you're filtering. I deselect. Okay, this is how then we can. And then we can do quantification. If you do quantification, it's better to have pre-filtering. So it doesn't matter whether you have post-filtering or not. It's going to give you same result. So when you want to view, you can just select W weight percentage, atomic percentage of your. When you could switch between different quantification, you might need to adjust your filtering a little bit to make it looks or contrast. Probably need to adjust contrast here to make it looks better. Okay. You can do overlap. So you can, when you set overlap, you can make the hardest contrast weak. In this case, you can get that view. So this just an atom. In between them is just an atom. So then we can take it from the processing from you said the experiment not going to show you the quantification results. Right now we select atomic percentage fraction. So it's you see the oxygen percentage, strontium percentage, the titanium percentage. This is about the right. It's about the right. When I change the pre-filtering, you can see how this value change. Okay, increase. It's not gonna change or not. That means we have good filtering. Let's start from 1 pixel pre-filtering. If you select 1 pixel filtering, and then you can redo quantification. So this is what time now? This is 10:40 results. It doesn't update, so let's. Okay, now it's update. Whole area. Okay. You see, when we get this is the quantification for 1 pixel. Increase that to 3 pixel. This way going to change. It's not going to change or not. 3 pixel, 5 pixel. It's not going to change or not. If you select the whole area, but we can select this 1 pixel. That's very filtering going to change stance. So if you just set a 1 pixel, now with this side of the pre-filtering, you see your oxygen level of oxygen is 0. That means the pixel you select right now, the area you select now just 1 pixel, have no oxygen. So because if we do pre-filtering 1 pixel, it's gonna averaging the surrounding 1 by 1 pixel. You still get no oxygen. But if you, because in this area, in this 1 by 1 pixel, it doesn't collect oxygen signal. It's averages 3 pixel. You're probably gonna start seeing the oxygen. You see here, this is the oxygen here. That means it's gonna do the averaging 3 by 3 pixel. It's gonna redistribute the count in 3 by 3 pixel. So you do more, but this is fraction is not right. So you probably need to go more pre-filtering. Yeah, this is a good. You see, right now the instruction should be around 21, titanium around 24, oxygen 54. You keep increasing, this value is not going to change or not. It's going to become stable. That means we have good quantification.
So when you increase the size, it's bigger than the spectrum area that you drew earlier, right?
It's say again, it's gonna redistribute the so because right now only select a 1 by 1 pixel, right?
Yeah.
So in this 1 by 1 pixel, if you have no filtering, let's take a look at low filtering. If you low filtering in this area, have no oxygen signal, right? But if you select the filtering, it's gonna redistribute the so if you set average, now I'm averaging 11 pixel. In this 11 pixel, so within the adjacent 11 pixel 11 by 11 region, it's gonna average all the pixel redistribute counts in 11 by 11 pixel to an average the counts within this 11 by 11 pixel. So yeah, that's how it works. So if you do, but if you do just let's Let me better explain. Do specification. If you do just 1 pixel, results stay same. Right? You see, take a look at quantification. 1 pixel. If you just average 1 pixel, that means almost no filter. That means no filtering. You still stay the same. Your quantification still stays the same because you just subtract, you just retract the signal in this 1 pixel and redistribution then in this 1 pixel. But if you do 3 pixel, it's gonna extract the signal from 3 by 3 pixel area and then redistribution in this 3 by 3 pixel area. So that's mean that you're starting to see that's the reason you start seeing auction. So because in this 1 by 1 pixel, it doesn't have auction, but in the adjacent 2 pixel, 2 by 2 pixel, it's gonna have auction. So if you do averaging 3, you're gonna extract signal from this 3 by 3 pixel region and then redistribution then into this 3 by 3 pixel uniformly. In this case, you select 1 by 1 pixel area, gonna get auction signal. Am I clear?
Okay. So I think so. So the size is just like what the filter is, and then it'll apply to the whole spectrum.
Yes.
Or the image. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
And then what you did earlier was just checking the spectrum individually by size, right?
Yes.
When you were setting the pixel by itself.
And
then this is when you're actually applying the filter to the whole image based on the pixels. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So this is how we set up pre-filtering. Remember that if you want to get a good quantification, it's better to select the pre-filtering, especially if you do quantification in a small region. If you, for example, if you just want to do in the very small region, you probably want to do have the quantification. I have the pre-filter select. Okay, this is pre-filter. So basically, we have a pre-filter for quantification, enhanced spectrum count, average count, and also we have post-filter to make your elemental mapping look nicer. Okay. What else we have? And definitely we can select different energy peak for quantification. So, then quantification, for the quantification, there's this is for visualization only. For quantification, we can select the whole area, generate nice spectrum with enough counts for quantification. And this is a sub window called the EDS quantification. You can open that quantification window, and if you this is raw data without quantification, let's go back. Okay, and then the first thing you do, you take a look at your spectrum. Right, just say whether peak match with each other, right? And also you need to take a look their elements. Once you're done with that, you can take a look you can choose which peak you want to use for the quantification. For the titanium, you can bring the titanium. You say, this is the peak you identify. You can select. You can this all the peak. This the peak get automatically identified. You can take a look at the map, zoom in to say, because right now we just mainly use K alpha, K beta titanium for titanium. So we can just deselect that. That's gonna reduce noise. If you use the beta, I use the L peak. The titanium L peak is here. It's you can use that, but it's just small amount, so we can just ignore that. Just use the titanium K peak for the quantification. For Johnsonian, again, you can decide this, just do the alpha for the quantification. And once you're okay with that, the oxygen definitely we use K peak. Once you select the peak based on the spectrum, you can approach SI. It's gonna, if you go to the SI means spectrum imaging, and then you select tip element map, you can see it's just in, it's gonna have same setting as as we identify in the spectrum. So you see here we just select alpha for the titanium, K alpha, K for the titanium. Let's say. We also get a K beta. Let's see, and you can switch between them. This is the spectrum. Go K beta, yeah. Okay, we can just select this K beta. And for Johnsonian, oh, this is for Johnsonian. This is for okay, this is for titanium. Just make sure the result is select matched. So this is K alpha beta. We go back to the elemental map. So we select the corresponding element, K alpha, K beta. And then we check the structure. We go back to spectrum again. And select Johnsonian. We got a Johnsonian K alpha, K beta. Johnsonian L. So this is a element identified in the spectrum. So we go back to the mapping and Johnsonian K alpha, K beta. Okay, so make the match. So we're gonna use this peak for identification, quantification, and then once we're done with that, we're done with elemental setting, and then we can go for spectrum. This is so when you select spectrum, it gives you opportunity to do EDS quantification. When you select elemental mapping, it can give you spectrum image quantification. So say this is a different choice. So just when you select single spectrum, give you EDS quantification. We will do quantification based on the spectrum. So we can so they're separate with each other. So, but once we done with spectrum EDS quantification, we can just apply to the SI quantification. So there's a background correction model. So the first thing we need to show to say which one's good, we can just show the background. We can show the. If you click this window here, you can just select background, make the background visible, and also you can make model visible. This is how straight the peak, how the model the peak look like, model the peak look like. So you can zoom in, can say how it then look like. This is the background. And this is the phase peak. Residual. You can also bring residual out. You can change the color of them by just right click. Let me somewhere. So and then double click here. You can set up different color. You can probably go for red. And then click here. Blue is look nicer. Also, you can show background window, make it visible, and also you can add the background. This is the background window, means in this range we're going to use for the background. When you move the background window, you see how the peak fitting changing. So this is your peak fitting. So you can move this background window. You see your peak fitting and the background changing. So this is important. You can remove the residual. You see this is the fit peak background. So you can, if you, because this is the background window identified by the software. So if you choose different model, background correction model, it's gonna give you different background. You see here, background curve. Say there. See different background curve here. So you can say auto. You don't use background window or use background window and auto. So, and also this is how we choose background. And also you can add a background, choose somewhere. Add a background here. Like this is the background window. You can draw a background, choose this background window icon, and hold the left mouse to add a background anywhere you want to add. Also, you can, this is for peak identification. You can put a line here, and in the object, you can say if you have some unknown peak like this peak, you put there. You say it give you some candidates. So the top one has more possibility. So you can, maybe it's a Kobo. Also you can move around, say, in this case you can use this NaN tool to identify different peak. Also, this tool is for measuring distance between the two peaks. Session now. So once you're done with background selection, the next step, if you have a stick symbol, you might want to do use absorption correction. So, but you have to know your sample thickness. If you choose that, you can type in your sample thickness. If you know the density, you can type the density in. And if you choose the cross-section at the soften function, it just gives you ability to choose the different cross-section model. So just a couple model. Brown power is default model. Once you're done with that, you can just say you can. This probably 15 nanometer. Just apply to SI. Then SI this spectrum image quantification. You're gonna choose the same setting that you have. You're gonna choose Enterprise, background window, yes. You see the status here. So if you don't choose that, you see no correction. You can apply to SI. You go back here. And should be update. Apply to SI. Then you see your background mode, correction mode, change to the default value. So correction no, we have no absorption correction. So this is so basically we need to quantify spectrum. Also quantify spectrum. You can just say approach spectrum imaging, and the spectrum image is going to take the same setting as you have in your spectrum. So you can use the optimized spectrum fitting. So if you use that, you can see the difference. You should use the optimized spectrum fitting. It gives you better fitting. Choose different color. Color. Okay. So give you a property. Yeah, this is the spectrum. Use this spectrum. This is spectrum fit. So background, the peak, it's the peak. So you can just select them, but just simple click. So which you find, you can check whether peak fit value or not. So except when you select optimize, it gives you better fitting. You don't select optimize, you see, your peak fitting is not fit the curve, not fit the spectrum well. So you should use optimized fitting. This is a rematch. Rematch is for calibrate your spectrum. So if you see the peak not match with your spectrum, then you can do rematch, recalibrate. So based on the known non-peak, for example, oxygen we know is always at this energy range. So you can select, you can deselect other elements and just select oxygen, say rematch. You're gonna calibrate the spectrum by using oxygen peak, and then you can see select Johnson again. You see, if you rematch, you see your peak shift a little bit to the left, right? Because this means it's changed it calibrate the quantification. So you can do, if you want to go back, you probably need to use the Johnson peak. You can deselect this one, this is definitely peak. You see rematch, and then let's go back. You can select oxygen, titanium. You can see now it's go back. So you can try different peaks to see which one give you better matching results. So, always sometimes there's chemical shifts in your element. So for this case, it seems we have some chemical shift on oxygen. The selection peak looks well. So always, it's just not a good example to do is use carbon peak to do to calibrate your peak, or you can use the system peak like copper, like copper in system. We have copper peak. Yeah, we got a little bit color peak. And for the quantification, because for the element mapping, we don't need to include the copper into the element mapping, but for quantification, we probably need to select the decombination only for the copper. So we know this is a system arrow. This is copper is from system. So we select that, and we can just do, and then we can deselect all of them. Just use carbon and copper to calibrate the spectrum. Rematch, and let's see how the peak is. Yeah, it's just well. So it's always good to use the system peak like carbon, copper to do peak fitting, to calibrate your spectrum. If you don't make sure they match well. Once you're done with that,
so when you hit remeasure, it recalibrates it?
Yes. So it's gonna. So for example, if you see some shift between your like, let me do this. Just now I use option. Just give you worst case, and then titanium. You see, this is your model peak and your actual spectrum. They're not matched well, right? That means you have some. Also you see a titanium peak here. The model peak and the actual spectrum doesn't match well. That means you probably need to recalculate your spectrum. So to do that, and we can just use the system element, which is copper or carbon. We know carbon film because if you use the element in your sample, you don't know the status of your sample. You might have some chemical shift in your different element. So it's better just use copper, which is from the holder. That might not have the chemical shift, it's stable element. So just use rematch, and then you can it's gonna calculate the spectrum for you. When you see that, you can see take the model, and then you see the titanium peak, model titanium peak, and the actual spectrum. They're matched well. So yeah, that's important step. If you see some mismatch between the model peak and the actual spectrum. Okay, and then when you can choose whether to use absorption correction or not. It's not going to change a lot. You see, if you change absorption correction, it seems to give you better results. You take the good, because we don't have carbon. Let's look at We just need to quantify tungsten, titanium, oxygen, right? And when you say deselect a substance or select option as a substance, you're going to affect the quantification results a little bit. So be careful to use that because you need to know your sample thickness. If you don't know that, you can add the astigmatism. So because it's now I know my sample thickness, it's around like maybe 60. 50 to 60, this is 50, you see it's giving me a little bit better results, quantification result. And once I'm done with that, I can just say apply to SI. And then the SI, gonna use the same configuration as I did for the spectrum. Okay. So this is the okay. And then we can go to time of percentage, so that we can quantify so that we can quantification. So this is net intensity with background removed. This is the weight percentage mapping. This is atomic percentage mapping. So you can set up P15. Always set up P15 to make your result look better. Okay, so because it's now I go intensity, I didn't set up pre-filtering. But the pre-filtering, if you do small region, right now I set up the whole region. If you don't set up pre-filtering, the result looks very similar because we are doing quantification whole area. But if you do quantification in a small region, it's better to use the pre-filtering will give you better result. Okay. Okay, that's typically how we do the filtering stuff. So let's take a quick break, and then we will be back in 10 minutes, and then we can talk about more stuff. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I will see you back in 10 minutes.
Okay.